Mexico.
Bienvenidos, Mexico.
Welcome. Share with all your friends. Español,
I had a good streak going, and then I think COVID knocked it over. 12 days, something like that.
Going to be one of the things I concentrate on this year. I'm going to start using it.
And not getting COVID.
I do not want COVID again.
Did you see that Fauci was one of the pardoned people? Yet he was. What was his role? What was he called? Was he the?
He was the head of the fucking CDC.
Okay, so the head of the CDC who gave us medical advice.
That was all
pardoned.
wrong.
That was pardoned and was pardoned for giving said medical advice.
Yeah, out of all of them, he's the real criminal because he's the one that's got the fucking MD next to his name, right?
Right. Yes, I would agree with that completely.
When people start spouting medical shit, if it gets too heated, I'm always like, no one standing here is a doctor, right? You can have opinions, but the guy who's got the MD next to his name, I'm going to, go with his a little heavier than anybody else's.
And rightfully so, because that is what a medical doctor is for. You follow their guidance and instruction, and that's the thing.
Well, you know me, I deal in logic, brother.
Right.
If I want a house built, I'm going to an architect, right?
Right.
And then a carpenter and a general contractor, and sure.
But unfortunately, logic is not the way of the world.
Yeah, I was not real happy with that pardon myself. I think that guy has a lot of blood on his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely gave not good advice.
Nope. You know what is interesting, which has dropped in the last couple of days? When Trump took office, he promised that he was going to release all the information on John F. Kennedy's assassination, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s assassination, or was it a junior? Is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or junior, or is he regular?
Oh fuck,
I don't remember. So, but you know what I'm talking about: JFK, RFK,
yeah.
and then MLK's. He was going to release all the assassination information on that.
Unredacted, or did it say
unredacted? No, just straight up. Like there's stuff going. I've seen now twice.
Because this stuff's all been released before, and it's heavily redacted. All of it.
Okay, so I didn't see the before release stuff. I've heard some audio in the last couple of days that Lyndon B. Johnson basically ordered the hit, let's call it, on JFK.
Yeah,
because he was stirring up too much shit and he was embarrassing them in Texas or something to that effect. There's stuff going around, and I listened to.
Well, one of the things that he wanted to do that I don't know if people are aware of, but
Kennedy.
What you just said was true, but he also, as we now know, he noticed that the CIA, the FBI, all these federal agencies had far too much overreaching power into the American public, right?
Right.
He wanted to dismantle them all. But I think the one that did him in is he wanted to dismantle the Federal Reserve, because a lot of people don't know that the Federal Reserve is a private institution. So when you're banking on your president and your Congress and whoever you think is going to save you, they're not, because the people that set the interest rate are a corporation just like you go to work for every day.
Yeah.
They're a private entity. It's almost gaslighting to call it the Federal Reserve, right? Because my whole life I thought that's what it was. I thought the federal government controlled the Federal Reserve.
I did too way back in the day. Yeah.
Nothing could be further from the truth. That is a private entity.
Yeah, it's from
That's why when they say that the chairman, let me back that up. When the president wants the feds, the chairman to do something, you'll hear a lot of people from the other side say, he can ask,
Yeah.
He can demand what he wants, but he doesn't appoint that person. So that person doesn't give a fuck what one president wants from the next. What he wants to do is set what he feels is an interest rate that is not going to bankrupt the country, right? One thing that you said on our earlier episode that I agree with you in spades is that we can't afford to go back to 1.5%, 2%, 2.5% interest rates.
Right. We can't afford because we can't afford it. It'll fuck up our system.
It did.
Yeah.
That was part of the problem.
Mm-hmm. And it will. Who's there?
Mama Kay.
Hi, Mama Kay.
Oh, now Chris says you got to say hi.
What did she bring you?
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
How you doing out there?
I'm nice and warm.
Hey, it's warm here today, too. Not bad.
Really? Right on.
Oh, yeah. It's tolerable.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to be like
Could get up
80
to
on
50.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, give Mommy hugs. Look, he's giving Mommy a hug. Oh, see that? See that? This is what the show's about. Love and
He
connection.
says that's what this show's about, love and connection. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Enjoy them.
All right.
You can have them.
Thank you.
What did she bring you?
Made them, too. I just cut them.
Ooh, delicious. I got cherry coffee cake, man,
Oh, fuck you, dude.
which she makes from scratch because I don't know if we've discussed this on the Chris and Mike show, but the Mike half of the Chris and Mike show is non-dairy. He is allergic
Yes,
to all
no,
dairy. I
We've talked about that.
can't have butter, cheese.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, we've talked about that.
So these are homemade. This is homemade coffee cake, cherry coffee cake from scratch.
Yeah, jealous.
Even the icing.
jealous.
Oh, it's fucking delicious. So, yeah. Since we know that Mama Kay listens to the show, thank you very much. I love you.
Yes, good job, Mama Kay.
Oh, yeah.
So, what were we talking about before Mama Kay came in?
The Federal Reserve.
The Federal Reserve. Yeah, I see. So, that's owned by the Rockefellers, right? Isn't that who owns that?
You know, I don't know now. I think it's just a private holding company now.
Okay,
But yeah, back in the day, I would assume that somebody like the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, you know, somebody had their hand in setting that system up, I'm sure.
Okay, so here it is. The Federal Reserve System fulfills its public mission as an independent entity within government. It is not owned by anyone and is not a private profit-making institution. As the nation's central bank, the Federal Reserve derives its authority from the Congress of the United States of America. You heard it here first, boys and girls. Well, maybe not first, but, you know. There you go.
So he wanted to dismantle that.
Yeah, so the system does not require public funding, and it derives its authority from its authority and purpose from the Federal Reserve Act, which was passed by Congress in 1913 and is subject to congressional modification, or repeal. So he has no power to do anything with that because that's owned by Congress. Congress has the final say in that. And I don't think anybody on either side of the political fence would vote to remove that, because you remove that, then you're just kind of, you know, what the fuck? You know? Right?
I would assume so, yeah.
There was a long silent pause, Mike.
I was thinking.
That's a good thing to think,
I was
man.
thinking. What do I want to say here? Because we all know they're all fucking crooks, so somewhere they're screwing us.
Yeah, you know. So I bought Occidental Petroleum yesterday because it's trending upward. So we're gonna see what it does, which is gas, oil, you know. Berkshire Hathaway owns a big chunk of that shit, and guess who Berkshire Hathaway's owned by?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, for the folks at home, those shares are about $500,000 a share, 400,000, 300,000.
Well, his stuff, yeah, but what I got was it was inexpensive. It was like $49 with anticipation of it going $60 to $70 in the next couple months. So I was like, okay, what the fuck? I'll
tell you one that's held true that my brother told me about that I've watched since the pandemic.
Okay.
So for 5 years now, Allegiant Airlines, if you ever see it get down to, I kick myself because it just did it.
Oh.
It was at like $58, $62 a share. If you ever see it down there,
Yeah.
buy as much as you can afford, because eventually it'll go back to 100 and something. Sell it, wait for it to go back down again.
Okay.
My brother's done that more times than I can count, and he told me about it, and every time it's held true.
So where's it at right now?
It's probably in the hundreds still. I haven't looked for a couple weeks.
Okay, so when your brother drops that insight, make sure you share that with me, and then we'll buy some airplane stock.
Things really took a turn because I lost a lot of money in the last 24 hours. Holy shit.
From gambling?
No, stocks.
Oh. Well, that sucks, man. How come?
It looks like crypto tanked. That's all right. That'll come back.
I think crypto, like a buddy of mine, Brian Morse, We Fix Ugly Pools. This portion of the show is brought to you by We Fix Ugly Pools. From installation creation to complete backyard creation, We Fix Ugly Pools does it all. So he's huge into crypto. And he told me just fucking hold on to it. Just let it ride, man.
Yes.
Don't.
That's what I've done. I bought this in 2018, 19.
Yeah. Me too. Don't do the crazy trading. Just add $50 here and there to it. And I was like, okay, I can do that. That's cool. So
What were we looking up?
I don't know.
Allegiant.
Allegiant. So while you look up Allegiant, we're still watching, we finished Landman season 1. Fucking great fucking show. If you haven't watched Landman, and the end of season 1 was outstanding because it kind of
103.
Okay, and because it kind of started how it ended, how it started, right? Landman.
Yes.
Right. Great fucking show.
Absolutely.
Great fucking show. So we're waiting for the next season. So I clicked on The Agency. Have you watched The Agency?
It's in my list. I have not seen it yet.
Dude, okay. So squirrel moment, I got to talk about this because in Paramount, Mike and I are watching Paramount together. Have you watched have you grabbed the behind the music stuff?
In
Paramount.
In that Mike loaned Chris's password and
Right. We didn't want to tell the world that. But have you found the behind the music in Paramount?
Yes.
Have you watched the Wolfgang Van Halen?
Yes. Oh, wait.
Oh, I just
Emotional as hell.
I discovered that. Why didn't you tell me that was in there?
Well, because I forget things.
I discovered that. Dude.
You know
me.
me.
That was a really well done behind the music.
I agree. I just forgot. I mean, I watched that so long ago that I guess if it came up in conversation, I probably would have remembered it. But yeah, man, I got super emotional watching that one.
Yeah, just I liked the fact that everything you've ever told me about him, that he didn't want to be a rock star, right?
Correct.
There's a story I have from a friend of mine a long time ago, back in Young Life days, Matt Rust. He was a valet for, I want to say, the Phoenician Resort. Van Halen was in town. They were staying in one of the cabanas, which is kind of like away from the property, not the big hotel part of it, but just single level bungalows and shit. So Eddie, unbeknownst to Matt, had called down to the valet desk saying, "Hey, I need a couple packs of Marlboro Reds." So Matt went and got the cigarettes, right? And then, being a valet guy and being because valets at resorts and shit, you're runners, right? The faster you deliver, the more you get tipped and shit like that. So he got the cigarettes. He fucking booked to the room to where it was, and lo and behold, fucking opens the door. There's Eddie Van Halen.
That's crazy.
And I don't remember all the details of the story, but it was definitely something that Matt was like, it was the coolest thing ever. And he was really cool, laid back, and just gave him like $100 tip or something, because he needed his smokes, man.
Oh yeah, I can relate.
Which is cool. But that was good. So that was if you haven't ever watched that, it's on Paramount Behind the Music series. I think it's season 2. It's the Wolfgang Van Halen, and I lots of little pieces in that stuck out to me. Which the one where everybody was like, "Well, you're only here because Eddie's your dad," and I initially thought that. I think most of us did, right? Your only reason that you're relevant is because Eddie Van Halen's your father, right? It wasn't until I saw him open for Alter Bridge that I was like, "Holy shit!" And then that full circle Alter Bridge thing, because he played Tremonti. Tremonti's the guitarist for Alter Bridge, for those that you don't know, and Alter Bridge is the spinoff of Creed. When Scott Stapp went cuckoo, Miles Kennedy came in, they formed Alter Bridge, which in the whole different entity, but a whole amazing band on its own right. Mark Tremonti, who's one of the greatest guitar players on the planet, he has a side project called Tremonti, which is a lot heavier because Tremonti has a little heavier background, I think, musically than what Creed and Alter Bridge can offer him. If you remember that in the behind the music, he actually called Wolfgang and said, "Hey, I need you to come play bass for me." And he learned their entire song set list in like 2 days. And I don't remember how many shows he did with him, but Eddie and Valerie, according to Valerie, were sitting in the crowd, holding hands like, "Oh shit, that's our boy on stage. Look, there he is. There he is."
Absolutely.
And that's the coolest thing about that. It's like the grounding, to have a family that grounded, coming from both those elements of stardom.
Well, I think Eddie would agree with me. That kid has more talent in his little finger than Eddie probably had.
Yeah.
He plays all those instruments, man.
Yeah. That's kind of like Kid Rock plays all the instruments, like Prince played all the instruments. I like the thing that Eddie did. I think Wolfgang was telling the story that when he was 9, Eddie's like, "Can you do this with your, can you tap this on your right knee? Can
Yes.
you do this different on your left knee? And then can you make your opposite, do your foot the same way?" And then all of a sudden, okay, that's Back in Black for AC/DC. Holy shit, like I have, and it's funny that he wanted a kid to play with and to play with him and to be his friend.
I like when Wolfgang said he was a terrible teacher.
Well, that's because all musicians, teachers and musicians are terrible teachers and they're terrible students, right? Because you think it. Even realtors, man. There's you have that
I
everybody.
don't know, man. I was a pretty good teacher.
I agree. You were. I think a lot of people though.
I didn't mean to give myself a thumbs up.
No. You know what though? I could see how he would. We don't know Eddie Van Halen. We never even met the man, but
but it came from his kid's mouth.
Right.
That's
right. So
that's all I need.
So that to me would say that I'm amazed with Prince. Like the shit that when you hear a Prince song, if you really listen to the song, you're hearing all this stuff going on, right? Prince was a master at all the things, right? Little Corvette was on the radio a couple days ago when Nick and I were going somewhere, and just all the things that he had to have heard in his head, all the different layers and tracks and shit. Right?
Yeah,
that shit amazes me. Like that's just. So I think Eddie Van Halen is probably, when he was teaching his son, in Eddie's head, he's like, "Dude, you should have already gotten that," and he didn't. So that's probably why he was a terrible teacher. It's like when I tried to teach Jake how to drive a car. We bought him a stick on purpose, manual. I'm like, "Dude, why can't you just fucking figure this out?" It's because he'd never been behind a car before.
So that's the that's the hardest part about being a good teacher, is slowing things down enough for the person that has never done it before. You gotta know that going into it.
Yeah.
I'm conscious of telling that person all the time. I've done this for 40 years now, right?
Right.
So at the time that I first started giving lessons, I'd be like, "I've done this for 10 years. You've done it for 10 minutes, give yourself a break."
Yeah.
It's just making somebody feel comfortable. I just took the same lessons that I got, and that's the biggest reason that my teacher was a good teacher, is because he had patience, right? It was a given that he had to know how to play, and he had to know how to show you how to play. That's just a given.
Right.
The biggest one is what you just said, knowing that person has never done it before. That's the key right there.
Yeah, and I could see Eddie Van Halen's kid in Eddie's head being like, "You're fucking my son, man. You should get this shit like that. You should just be able to pick up this guitar and go."
But I think that's what made Wolfgang become better as a musician than even Eddie, because he didn't want to let his dad down, right? So he's like, "I got to get this shit."
Yeah.
So not only did he get guitar, he got drums, he got bass, he got singing, he got songwriting. He was like, "I got to know how to do it all."
Right. And the other cool thing is when he went and played, I forget what some Glass Pro or Glass Cow thing overseas, and it was with Dave Grohl, and he actually went up and he played Van Halen.
Yeah. He fucking shredded Eruption.
Right. He played. I'm like, he owned that shit.
He did.
To where
Dave bowed down to him on stage. I've seen that YouTube clip about 100 times.
Oh, right on. I didn't know it was a YouTube clip. But yeah, so that alone, I think, solidified the fact that, yeah, I'm my own person. I just happen to be named Van Halen, and look at me now. Because really, I thought the same thing when he first started coming up the ranks and I started hearing his name and shit. I'm like, oh, he's riding daddy's coattails because, common, why not, But then I saw him open up for Alter Bridge and I was just like, fuck me. Like it was crowded for Wolfgang's set. And usually the opening act doesn't have a crowd like that.
Well, you just nailed it, man. For the people who follow him online, he holds his ground. He takes care of all his own social media, and when people talk shit to him, he talks shit right back to him.
Yeah,
and it's fun to watch. He's got a thick exterior because, you just described why he has to, because initially we were all like, you fucking kicked Michael Anthony out of Van Halen for your kid. That was all our first reaction.
Sure.
Because Michael Anthony is one of the most endearing members of Van Halen just because he seemed like everyone's dad, you know?
He's like a teddy bear.
Yeah. And he could sing like there was no tomorrow. Like all those high background vocals, that's all Michael Anthony and Eddie. Eddie's in there too. But mostly you're right. It's Michael Anthony. And we love that guy. He did his Jack Daniels fucking bass solo and, acted like he was drinking a fifth while he was doing it. And yeah. So it did take some warming up. And the cool thing about him is he seemed to understand that. He was like, I knew what I was getting into.
Yeah. I didn't realize the one of the main reasons why was to keep Eddie sober.
Yes.
Like I knew Eddie was an alcoholic because I've always heard that rumblings.
But he's such a private person. None of us knew any of that shit. He buried himself in the hills there wherever he was living. And other than to go out on tour, you really never heard from Eddie Van Halen. He was just like locked away in the studio writing riffs like there was no tomorrow.
Right. Yep. I didn't know. I never knew he was dabbling in the drugs. And then when Wolfgang started talking about that, when he had something, and then they gave him pills on top of it, then the eyes just went black, and there was nobody home.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't realize he had cancer like 3 different times. That's crazy. And he still fucking smoked. Like, come on, man.
I know.
That's the power of, it's the power of addiction. You just,
Yes, believe me, I know. That's the one I've never been able to kick is nicotine.
See, and the weirdest thing about me stopping chewing, dude, like true story, probably.
See, and I forgot you even did that till you brought it up again. And I was like, oh yeah, he chewed all the time.
I'm probably, it's 25, I'm going to say 2000, maybe 15 years now, 12 years now, something. Nikki was out of town with Skylar and visiting some friends in Oregon. I was sitting on my recliner. It was 4th of July weekend, and I went to grab my can of Copenhagen and open it up. It is empty. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking go to the store. That's it. I stopped.
That was it?
That was it. I didn't want to, whatever, I must have been doing yard work or something. I came inside, sat down, turned on the TV, was chilling out, went to grab the can, and it was empty. And I was like, yeah, I don't feel like going to the store right now. And that was it.
And that's the one thing that probably makes me feel like the biggest failure, because I quit the hardest drugs that money can buy, for lack of a better term.
Right.
I quit drinking for many years.
Right.
I know I have a beer here on the show, but ladies and gentlemen, I usually have a beer before dinner, with dinner, and then water. That's it. So I learned to control certain things, and drinking was one of them, But I quit for almost 9 years. I didn't have a drop of alcohol, and I didn't have any marijuana, and I didn't obviously have any other drugs. But man, smoking grabbed me when I was young, and it's one of those irrational habits, you know? Yep. You don't have to do it. I know you don't have to do it. I'm not fucking stupid.
No.
But somehow my alter ego or whatever enjoys smoking,
Yeah.
And he's a powerful son of a bitch. We're going to smoke. Okay.
Well, and the funny thing is the only thing I I probably remember more, but the only thing that really resonates with me with my relationship with my father that's non-existent in one of the 12 conversations we had in my 50 years before he disowned me for doing nothing. He had smoked pipes, and I remember some random conversation where he just woke up one day and he was just like, I just decided not to smoke pipes anymore. Now understand, his fucking youngest child had severe asthma to the point that you're moving out of a state and you still selfishly smoked like a chimney in the house and, in the vehicles and shit, around the child gasping for air. So fuck off. But he's like, when you're ready to quit, you just quit. And you're not going to quit until you're ready to quit. And
that's true. I say that about drugs, alcohol. Yeah. I agree with you.
And I think that's the only thing that really ever resonated, is that when you're just time to quit, you quit. And the Super Bowl drops this year on February 9th. Well, February 9th is my 20th anniversary of being sober, because my last time I was hammered was February 7th, because then I woke up on the 8th like, holy shit, something's got to change. So it's just kind of weird. It's like 20 years later, it's full circle. It's landing on the Super Bowl weekend, which is Saquon Barkley's birthday. He's going to have a day.
I hope so. All of a sudden, I'm an Eagles fan.
Well, did you watch the Chiefs game, right?
Of course.
Fucking bullshit that went on in that.
Yeah, well, it made me money, so.
I know, but there's two plays where literally a first down, man, and they moved the ball back a yard.
Well, did you see where the one line judge that was furthest away came in a half yard short, and the close line judge came in right where the ball should have been to begin with, which was a first down?
Yes.
The guy who was closest, which makes sense, was right.
Yeah.
But when they showed that replay, whoever was color commentating that game made that comment right then and there. He said, if you notice, the one guy's going to come in, he's a half yard short, and the other guy who was closest to the ball came in, and it was a first down where he had it marked. It was a first down. I've watched it like 10 more times since then. Of course it was a first down.
Both of them were first downs. And then Worthy didn't catch that ball. That was a contested ball that the
ball hit the ground.
Exactly. And then they're trying to justify, well, the ball didn't hit the ground. Fuck off. It fucking hit the ground. It hit the ground. You have two players fighting for a ball, and it's not in either one's possession. It hits the ground. That's not a first down. Buffalo got fucking just hoodwinked out of.
So here's the conspiracy. I agree with you 1,000,000%.
Okay.
When I went to look at the odds on Sunday, I was almost convinced that most of the money would have been on Kansas City, and most of the money would have been on the Eagles, right?
Okay, yeah.
Believe it or not, it was actually the other way around by a landslide.
Wow.
60%.
Wow.
The Commanders and the Bills commanded most of the money.
Huh.
So
that's interesting.
One of the conspiracies during the baseball season was any time that there was a team that had more than 70% of the money, they lost 80% of the time.
Okay. Oh, really?
So most of the money was on the Commanders and the Bills, and I bet there was some huge money line bets that were made, and by huge, I mean fucking huge.
Yeah.
Like money that people could not even comprehend.
Right, right.
And when shit like that happens, it usually goes the other way.
Wow.
So I got to give a shout out to Steele, because he's actually the one that changed my mind, and that's why I bet on the Chiefs. I was going to bet on the Bills too.
Yeah.
But the more I talked to him before the game, we had breakfast Sunday morning, the more he kept saying, without saying the game's rigged, he's like, how the Chiefs games go, especially when they're at home, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And he was right.
Well, Steele is a pretty smart guy. He's visited you on the show quite often.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, he's going to come on and tell us some stories of the paranormal, we hope, here pretty soon.
Yeah. So okay, so you got the Eagles and you got Mahomes. Now, from one standpoint, like everybody hates the Chiefs now, right? Because fucking Chiefs, blah blah blah. But what they're forgetting is you're watching something that's probably never going to be seen again, especially in the era of free agency and how nobody wants to stay together with a team because everybody wants to get paid billions and billions of dollars, right? Like, when are you going to see a team go to a third Super Bowl and possibly win it?
There's a part of me that, I was thinking about that today while I was working. Just exactly what you just brought up. People are definitely overlooking the fact. It's almost like the Nickelback scenario. It's cool to hate the Chiefs that you're overlooking the fact that you're right. NFL history could be made.
Yeah.
And what are the chances that any other team is going to be able to win 3 Super Bowls in a row? I mean, it took until now for somebody to have a chance.
Right, because the Bills went 4 times in a row, but they lost 4 times in a row.
Did they go 4 times in a row?
I thought they went 4 times.
They went at least 3 times in a row.
Let's see. I think they went.
I thought they skipped a couple of years in there, but you might be right. It was definitely in the 90s.
Yeah, 4 Super Bowl losses. January 27th, 91, January 26th, 92, January 31st, 93, January 30th, 94.
Okay.
They lost to the Giants, wide right, which was Super Bowl 25. That was a Whitney Houston, holy shit, Super Bowl. Changed the way the national anthem sung. Then it was the John Riggins, not John Riggins, Doug Williams, Washington Redskins beating the Buffalo Bills 37-24.
Yep. Remember that?
Then Dallas Cowboys 52-17, and then back-to-back Dallas Cowboys 30-13. So yes, the Bills lost. The Bills went to 4 straight Super Bowls, which is fucking impossible.
Yes.
Impossible. If the Chiefs don't win this year, but then they go back next year, that is still something that is just mind-boggling.
And it's a strong possibility that it could happen again because Andy Reid is a fucking genius.
Right, but I have a friend that I work with that's a huge Chiefs fan, and we were talking about it yesterday at the office, and he thinks the dynasty's over after this game, regardless of what happens, because of all the
they're going to break up the band
and all the ages, and all the coaches are going to get plucked. You know what I mean? Spagnuolo probably won't leave because Spags is the only coach in the NFL history to have 4 Super Bowl rings as a coordinator. And the fucker would have got another one if he would have stayed with the Giants instead of leaving to try to be a head coach.
True story.
Know your lane, man, because really, he's an amazing defensive coordinator.
Yes. One of my running jokes that I tell people is nobody ever asked me to be the singer. And I was never offended.
Right?
Jokingly.
But
how many microphones do you need? 2?
Yes. But see, that's the thing. To me, if and we've talked about it before, if you're good at what you do,
be good at what you do.
Exactly. Don't half-ass. Don't go do 3 different things and put 33% of your energy into each one of those things and half-ass those things, where you could just be good at one thing and focus on that and be great at it. Just do that one thing. It's not going to hurt you just to do one thing great.
Well, he proved that he can't be a head coach, so I agree that he would be one of the ones that would stay for sure.
Yeah.
But those fuckers prove that they can win, even though, look at what they lost to free agency after they won the Super Bowl last year.
Who'd they lose?
Wasn't that the year they lost Tyreek?
I thought Tyreek was 2 years ago. Tyreek's a fucking
that
problem
was 2
child,
years
man.
ago.
Tyreek's a problem child. Wherever he's going to end up, he's not. He's like Odell Beckham. You just shut your fucking mouth and play the game.
Right.
Just because Beckham's like he's got to be done. He got released from the Dolphins before the end of the year, and there was speculation he was going to be picked up by a playoff team. Why? He changed the game. He changed how receivers attack the ball, right? But I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer because he just ran his mouth too much. Nobody
I
tried.
agree.
Nobody tried all these weird catches before Odell Beckham came in the league. Nobody. You know what I mean, people had hands and they could catch it. They'd go climb the ladder and catch high balls and low balls and shit like that. But nobody was.
Well, the pinnacle before him was for surely Randy Moss, and then you're
Oh
right.
yeah.
You know,
but Randy
you
Moss
had Rand-
wasn't. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying I think that was the pinnacle of the two-hand catch receiver, and then I
Yes.
agree with you in spades that Beckham came into the league, and all of a sudden you had, I think Steele calls them circus catches or acrobatic catches or some shit like that. You know, he's got a term he uses that's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
fitting.
Right. No, because Randy, I mean, because Jerry Rice was Jerry Rice, but Jerry Rice had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back. So I mean, how can you
Well,
not be
he took it to
successful?
that level, and then
Right.
Moss took it to the next level, and then Beckham took it to the. You're right, man. Nobody was making one-handed catches like these guys before him, for sure.
No, they could catch it. They could go get any ball, but nobody was practicing weird fucking angles of catching the catching.
Right, like to cradle it while you're falling. You know,
Right.
he actually created a way to catch the ball, land without the ball hitting the ground,
Right.
roll over, you know, like a fire drill roll or something, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insanity. And nobody else was doing that before him. He did it in college because I started seeing excerpts and highlights from college. So this wasn't anything new, but it was new on the stage in New York because it was New York. It's the media capital of the world, right?
Sure.
So he doesn't catch that on Monday night or Sunday Night Football in New York. It's against the Cowboys, one of the most highly watched battles ever. So but yeah. So I don't know. So what do you think? Do you think it's going to be Mahomes? What's the odds? Have you looked at the odds yet? Have they set that? Because it's 2 weeks away, right?
Oh, yeah, they probably already have it. I'll tell you. I don't know if the Chiefs can stop Barkley, man, because I thought the Commanders would have done a far better job. That dude is...
He's on fire right now. He's on a different level.
Yeah, it's almost like he's 1/10 of a second faster than everybody else on the field. Mm-hmm. You know, like they're reacting to him versus him reacting to them.
Well, and to his credit too, the first year, his rookie year, he was phenomenal in New York, and then he got hurt, and then the line and the quarterback, all that kind of bullshit. So he made a statement after the game this weekend somewhere that the reason he's playing as well as he's playing is he doesn't have to worry about his long-term contract.
Right.
Which I kind of think was like, well, really, dude, shouldn't you have been playing for a long-term contract instead of being concerned about not having one? But it shows you, too, what the Giants would have had they drafted Jaden Daniels like the GM's son told him to, and he ignored. Because if we had Jaden Daniels and Saquon Barkley on the same team, you'd have what the Eagles have right now.
Yes.
Because he is. I mean, he was 2 of those runs he did against Commanders. He wasn't touched.
First one made me $50, $42.50.
Oh, because he scored first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had him to score the first touchdown.
Yeah. First fucking play of their drive, man. Did you give him the
I
ball?
was like, that was the easiest $42.50 I ever made in my life. It took about 6 seconds.
And he wasn't touched, dude. Like, nobody touched him.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not... The Chiefs' defense is good, but
it's not that
how
good.
much of that can you take?
See, this is
You
what
got
I'm
to do
thinking.
that for four, you have to stop that guy for 4 fucking quarters.
Right, and the problem
They're going to
is-
make some holes in the line somewhere, trust me.
Yeah, because the problem is Spagnuolo blitzes. In my head, you have an audible called. If you see the blitz coming, you call the audible, and Barkley's either swinging to the left or right. You do a dump pass, and he's gone.
Right?
Because you're blitzing. You got to blitz to get Jalen off his spot because Jalen's not as good scrambling because he doesn't have the legs like he's had, because of his injuries and shit. So you can't. I mean, you have Barkley, you have Ertz. They don't have any, and they got Brown, AJ Brown, right's their receiver, and then they have that other guy. I mean, they're not like holy shit receivers.
They
but
got Dallas Goedert, too. He's a stud.
Oh, that's right. He is a stud, and he's a big boy too. He's a farm cow.
Hard to fucking tackle.
Yeah. So I don't think the Chiefs are going to win this one. As much as it pains me to say it, I think the Eagles are going to win. I think it's going to be a
The line right now
Mm-hmm.
is you were right. The Chiefs are favored, but only by 1.5. So right now you can get the Eagles at plus money, which is huge. I'm going to make my bet right now.
Okay.
Because I agree with what Chris just said. I don't think the Chiefs are going to win this game. I don't think you can stop the fucking Eagles. Here's the other thing that I forgot until they were playing the game.
Yeah.
Which would have changed my mind. The Eagles have the #1 defense in the NFL, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So you have to stop Saquon for 4 fucking quarters, and you have to play against the #1 defense in the NFL.
Yep.
If they're ever going to win a Super Bowl, it's going to be right now. You have a powerhouse offense,
Yep.
and you have the best defense.
And you have a wacky fucking coach
Yeah.
that everybody's surprised he's still there because he yells at the crowd.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But they love that in Philadelphia. That's how they are. That know, they're the one thing that Rogan always says, because he grew up on the East Coast, and he's right, and you know from living in a cold climate at one time.
Sure.
When you live where there's winter, those people are hard, man. Because you have to be. You got to be tough to survive winter. And the further east you go, the worse it gets. You know, Boston, Buffalo, those people, they're like snowed in half the year.
Yeah.
And it's bitter fucking cold.
I got leaves on the ground that I got to get up, but other than that, I'm fine.
I
may make a video of me shoveling my leaves.
We are super sad about all your problems out there. This is the time of year I miss it. I can tell you that right now.
So Cam Newton put something out there that talking about Eli Manning. If he gets a gold jacket before me, I deserve 2 of them. Cam Newton said that in regards to Eli Manning getting into the Hall of Fame, probably.
He's wrong.
He's way wrong. Cam Newton was hit too many times in the head, man. And he came out not too long ago, woe is me. I have 8 different baby mamas. I have 8 different kids, and my financial life is in turmoil since I left the NFL. Whose problem is that? Who is it? Our problem because you don't know how to spend your money and you don't know how to wrap your raincoat before you go out in the rain?
Nope.
Like, wrap your dingling up, man. Like, it's nobody's fault but your own. It's like Evander Holyfield is only worth $1 million now, okay? $1 million. The dude made $200 million while boxing. He makes his money now doing appearances. Why? Because he had 23 kids and lived in Atlanta, Georgia on a 32,000 square foot mansion.
Tyson went broke at one time, too. He went through $200 million as well.
Tyson went through $400 million.
Was it $400 million?
400, but that was a lot of Don King's bullshit. And Don King, if you notice, once
it was, but Tyson lived like a fucking baller, too.
Oh, agreed.
I told
Absolutely.
you that Charlie Murphy story where he fucking pulled up and Tyson's out there sitting with the belt wrapped around him and he's got 2 lions roaming around the front yard. I mean, that's how he was living.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And to his credit, he built back a little bit of his empire.
He did.
But all of that goes back to who I think, Oscar De La Hoya. Because remember when he retired, all of a sudden he started Golden Boy Productions. So you had a boxer that's been there, done that, starting a promotion company for boxing. And I think that opened the door for Floyd because Floyd stopped dealing with...
Oh, no question.
Right?
Yeah.
Once you... it's kind of like music, right? Once you own the rights of your shit, everybody else can fuck off.
Yep.
So kind of same concept with boxing. Once they realized they could, we can manage our own shit. We can do our own stuff, our own promotions, and make our own bank, which Tyson's done with his fighting since he came back, right?
Yeah.
He's got those... you seen that commercial with Tyson and Evander Holyfield? The gummies?
I have not.
It's funny, dude.
Is it new?
I don't know if it's new, but Tyson's got his own brand of gummies, and he goes over to Holyfield's house, and knocks on the door. Holyfield opens the door, and they make fun of it. Like, they totally make fun of the fact
I'll
that...
YouTube it. I got to see this.
Yeah. Wants to be his friend, Sorry, man, here's your ear.
That's great.
Yeah, something to that effect.
For those of you that don't know, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Tyson bit Evander Holyfield's ear in a famous fight in, what was it, the late 80s?
Yeah, and part of it may have been the 90s. Part of it was because Holyfield's a dirty fighter. Holyfield was the king of elbows and headbutts. And Tyson got tired of being headbutts, so he just fucking snuggled up and bit his ear.
Yeah, and he was borderline fucking crazy back then, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a combination of the both, for sure.
Sure.
But yeah, you're right. It was well known that Holyfield fucking headbutted people.
Yeah. Holyfield was badass in his prime, though, man. I loved watching him.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, there was nothing more impressive than watching Tyson in his prime.
This is true. And I grew up watching Hagler. I loved Hagler. Marvin
Hagler.
Fuck yeah. He was badass.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tyson in his prime was legit, dude. Nobody wanted to get in the ring with him. And even
I don't think there's ever been a better boxer to get in there. More intimidating for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That fucker hits hard. Mm-hmm. And had that fight on Netflix not been a farce,
yep, he would have knocked.
He'd have knocked that fucker to the next century.
Especially with all the footage of him training and how he was training, and then you get in the ring, you just
it was a fucking WWE setup, money grab.
It was.
Nobody got robbed.
Nope.
Everybody got paid.
Yep.
We all subscribed to Netflix anyway, so get over it.
Yeah, it's not like we paid for it. It wasn't pay per view.
Right.
You know,
that's how I got over it quickly. I was like, man, if this had been like you were saying in the 90s where you, me, Scott, Rick, fucking all the neighbors had to pitch in $10 to pay for that fight because it was
which is how we did it.
$29. Yeah, it's exactly how we did it.
Yep.
We'd have been pissed. It was bad enough that the fucking thing only lasted 1 minute and 3 seconds anyway, you know?
Right. Yep.
A lot of those fights, it was all the fights leading up to the Tyson fight that was made the money worthwhile because the Tyson fight only lasted 1 minute.
Uh-huh.
He hit the guy like 2 or 3 times, and on the third one, down he'd go.
Yeah. And you never hear from any of those guys again, ever. Even Buster Douglas. Buster Douglas had his day, right? His shining moment. And then within a year, just Buster who? You know, just Buster who?
Yeah, only people like you and I that like boxing know who that is.
Right.
Even all the times I've listened to Rogan talk about MMA, that's one thing I just never got into.
What?
I can take it or leave it. I listen to him talk about MMA, and I like to listen to him talk about it because I can hear the passion. Just like I like to listen to anybody who's passionate. I'll listen to a hunter if they're really passionate, you know?
Right.
Tell me about what you do.
Yeah.
I just don't like watching it. I don't know why. I think maybe it's the violence part of it. You know, it's just not my thing.
The only time I've watched it is when Conor McGregor's fighting. I like watching Conor McGregor because he's a showman. He's a
alter
showman.
ego is from the motherland.
Right, from the motherland. Conor McGregor and I, we little lads are going to get our piss on. But but he's a showman, and so much of...
I admire those people. They're fucking masters at what they do. It's just, like I said, it's just not my thing, man. I kind of tried to get into it. And
yeah. No, like I said, the only time I've watched it was Conor McGregor. I had a roommate years ago when MMA and UFC first came out, because it was different. It was the Gracies, right? I forget the first name of the guy, but it was more.
There's a bunch of them,
right? But it was more grappling and stuff because the first 3 or 4 UFC things.
Jiu-jitsu, I like.
Yeah.
That's something that I think I would probably get into if I had a inkling to do it.
Yeah.
That I do enjoy because that's an art, right? Those guys, oddly enough, you're trying to kill each other.
Yes.
But you're not beating each other into fucking submission,
right?
You know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, people like MMA. I get it. You know, it's awesome. It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
I admire jiu-jitsu.
Right.
You can only be into so many things.
Yeah, and I've never really been into it either. I watched it for what it is, but I didn't not every time. Oh, UFC's on, you know, where the people that are just fucking hardcore UFC.
Right. So I'll give you an example. Last year, Black Crowes album dropped. I was right there.
Yeah,
Got to hear it, you know, because I'm a
right.
musician, and that's one band I've admired. I've said it till I'm blue in the face. I don't think they've ever written a bad song. They've literally polished every turd they've ever written, and that's a huge feat for a band, man. I fucking love the Rolling Stones. They got a lot of clunkers. Yeah. I love Creedence Clearwater Revival like there is no tomorrow. Yeah. If there was one band I could be left with, they would be right up there with one of my choices.
Okay.
They wrote some clunkers.
Yeah.
So for me to say that a band literally never wrote a bad song,
Yeah.
that's a huge compliment coming from a guy who's played an instrument since he was 10 years old,
Yeah. Yeah.
I really do. I've never heard one of their songs that I don't like. So when they dropped that album, I was like, I gotta hear it to see if they did it again, and damn straight, they did it again.
There you go.
So that kind of thing, I get as excited about that as what I hear Rogan talk about when he's talking about MMA, right? You can hear for lack of a better term, like the glow in his voice.
Yeah.
It's like, he's like a little kid.
Yeah.
I'm like that when we talk about music.
Yeah.
I get excited,
Yeah.
It's like,
It's the passion.
sure.
The passion of yeah.
It was our calling. That's the one thing that makes us motivated.
Right.
Speaking of which, I dug that fucking song, man. It's
I
been
did too.
stuck in my head.
I know. I gotta watch that before I download it and put it up on the page.
I played that riff backwards all
Mm-hmm.
this time. And then when you and I started writing that thing, it was how you were singing it. I actually I used to play it from the F sharp down to the A, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Now it's backwards. It goes from the A to the F sharp, and it's even cooler.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. I just really like the way that goes from high to low. It just has a really cool feel with the melody you're singing against it.
Yeah. It's about the rock and roll, man.
I enjoyed it, man. I've told that story about 10 times now. I'm like, somewhere in the middle, Chris was like, I really hope everybody's enjoying this. And I was like, for once, I really don't give a fuck. I'm having a good time.
And the fun thing is it's broken up into 3 experts, which is,
Yeah, poor little part 2. It's only 5 minutes and 48 seconds. We'll forgive our engineer.
Well, but that'll be a fun little drop, just,
It's going to be neat. We hit some engineering snafus. It's okay.
Right.
We never promised a professional production here, ladies and gentlemen.
We didn't. Scott was like, can you watch the kids? I'm like, no, we're going running. Not watching your kids, man. Come on.
Yeah, come on now. It's Tuesday evening. What do we do
right.
every Tuesday evening?
Thank you.
We're like fucking clockwork.
Clockwork.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm a creature of habit. You know what I do. I'm going to go get a burrito when we're done here.
Right. I'm gonna give us a 7-minute warning because we're at 53 minutes. You have any fun little screenshots you've taken on your phone?
Of course I do.
Right on, man. Screenshot time.
Probably thousands of them I would like to get rid of. Here's a quick one I'll post on Facebook.
Okay.
Things nobody said in the 1970s. For instance, I lost my phone. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
In the 70s?
Things that nobody said in the 1970s.
Okay. Fuck. Oh, my internet's down.
You took it right out of my... Dude, we are so
Right on.
fucking in tune.
Right on. My internet's down.
Here's a good baseball statistic for you that I found fascinating. Between 1968 and 1972, Bob Gibson, who was one of Steele's favorite pitchers, had 122 complete games.
Holy shit.
Since the year 2000, 25 years, the Cardinals organization as a whole have had 117 complete games.
Wow.
So in 4 years, he pitched 122 complete games. And in 25 years, all the pitchers who have ever pitched for the Cardinals have only done it 117 times. That's how good Bob Gibson was. Now I know why Steele liked him so much.
Bob Goodson. Yep. Dude was a legend.
Humans left 400,000 pounds of trash on the moon, including 70 spacecraft, flags, tools, and 96 bags of waste.
Are you shitting me?
No, I found that fascinating too.
So we left shit on the moon, literally. You can't bring it back with you? You just leave it on the moon?
That's where it's at.
Okay, but there's no gravity on the moon, so it's floating in the atmosphere?
There's gravity on the moon. It's just very weak.
Okay, well...
Remember them bouncing along the...
Oh, that's true. Well, hopefully they tack that shit down then. Literally, tack that shit down. Because what's in waste? Shit. That's crazy, man.
Here's one that will be near and dear to Chris and my heart.
Okay.
People don't fake depression. They fake being okay. Remember that. Be kind.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought that was a good one. The most expensive pizza in the world costs $70,000 and takes 72 hours to make. True story.
So it's big? It's one of those big-ass fucking pizzas?
No, it's made with some of the most sought-after ingredients in the world. It's actually very small.
Oh, okay.
And it's $70,000. I'll send you a picture of it.
It better be a good fucking... Put it on the Facebook page. It better be a good fucking pizza. If it's small, it's not going to go to waste, you know. I hate when you see those things, oh, the world's biggest pizza. Like, yeah, how much of that could you have just fucking made and fed your entire city? You know, let's just make a fucking football field-sized pizza just for, oh, look what I just did.
That's what you and I would do.
Right.
And then we would give it to everybody that needed it. I wouldn't buy a little tiny pizza for $70,000 no matter what was on it.
No. Speaking of what people would do, I was fascinated by this. So somebody captured Justin Bieber laying on a sidewalk wherever he's at, engaged in conversation with a homeless person. Another one of him in the same outfit, everything, where he was with another homeless person actually giving them food and shit. Hung out with them for a certain amount of time and got up and just kind of walked away.
You know that would be me.
I know, I agree, but it's just it's part of it. Because Bieber has been so transparent about how lonely his life is and how isolated because he's been harassed since he was 14 years old, right?
Probably younger than that, yeah.
Right. But so imagine the only real way he can go out and not be bothered and not be, oh, you're Justin Bieber, is by laying on a sidewalk on his elbow talking to a homeless dude.
Yeah, that level of fame is not what people think it is.
Not at all.
You got to imagine not being able to go out of your house.
And think about it. He hasn't really done anything musically in years that would.
He doesn't have to.
Right. Oh, I know. That would.
I think that fucker's been balling for a while now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You got to hear this one.
Okay.
In 1783, a boy in Bengal was born with two heads. The second head was upside down with the neck pointed straight up. The second had a fully functioning brain and would whisper random stuff to the other brain. When the boy slept, the second head would be alert and awake with its eyes darting about. The second head also seemed to have emotions different from the boy's emotions.
Wow. That's a little creepy, man.
That'd be fucked up, man.
That's a real story?
Yeah.
Where was this at?
Documented. Bengal, which I think is over by, I'm probably going to sound super stupid now. I'm usually good with geography. I think Bengal is like India region.
I would think so because that's where the Bengal tigers come from.
Okay.
Bump.
It is definitely, no, you're right.
Oh, really?
But the country is definitely pronounced Bengal.
Oh,
it
gotcha.
looks like Bengal.
Oh, gotcha.
So maybe I'm not as stupid as I thought. I'm almost positive that's where it's at now. Yeah, I can't even imagine. Born with two fucking heads.
Yeah, that would be terrible. And you know that shit when you're in the womb, man, because of ultrasounds and shit, so you can see that shit.
Not in 1783, they didn't.
Oh, that's true. They didn't have ultrasounds in 1783. Fucking technology. They had something else back then, dude. You know, because they built pyramids and shit. You know, they had something. They had a microscope. They could stick up the U-Haul, you know, and kind of navigate around, I'm sure.
100,000 people sold their homes and stood in fields wearing white robes in 1844 waiting for Jesus to return. When nothing happened at midnight, many were left homeless. Their leader was a Baptist preacher named William Miller, and the failed prophecy became known as the Great Disappointment. Careful, ladies and gentlemen. Careful. In 1859, a wealthy settler named Thomas Austin released 13 wild rabbits on his Australian estate. By 1920, their population had grown to 10 billion. Rogan talks about that.